My name is Summer, and this is a little bit of commentary over my games during the last Seasonal Cup, where I participated. This was the first set of matches versus Yakin. If you see here, my lineup consisted of a mech deck, a blue-green jump deck, the one neutral is chosen, a yellow control list that Sutter and I worked on before the tournament, and this is a more mid-range Rakoans that utilizes Windgate, Crystal Flower, and Imperial Trooper as the highlights. Yakin's lineup consisted of 3 different yellow decks, 3 with Wind Soldiers, 1 without. I ended up banning the one with the Ariana, I believe, and he ended up banning my Rakoans. I expected Rakoans to get banned a lot just because they're kind of annoying to deal with, and most people aren't expecting this sort of mid-range version. So even if they do let it through, it's not this slow version where you can kind of just crog them down. It runs War Machine as well, which allows it to be a little bit faster. From here, I believe I selected the blue-green list to start. Unfortunately, I don't have game sounds, so this is why I'm commentating a little bit. We can skip through a few of these first few turns. Don't need to watch too much of the waiting. I started Lake here. Hopefully I didn't set a slow speed. Okay, good. So these are the first few turns. He just did nothing for a while. I was expecting maybe a rush based on what he picked. Did not end up being rush. So I kind of committed to the side lands, but they were a little bit awkward. But I figured, sure, I can be resilient against Soul Drain and something like that. He ended up having a very strong start here with this aggressive demon with the Mistral Guide. And with my lands kind of awkward like this, I didn't have a great way to clean up. I think I ended up just doing the guidance trade. Yep. And then I set up a octopus to kind of play. I think this should have been a 5/5, but I think I was worried about something else, and I figured I needed kind of the health bonus, but I think he just plays another demon and it's awkward. Well, it's even worse. He ended up playing a Colossus. Let's see how much it was. I think it was for 1, 2, so 8. But it is still pretty strong here into my 3/7 and my 3/3, so I still need some sort of trade here. This is very weak to Humbling Vision. However, I do not run Humbling Vision in this list. This is a particularly slower list, I think. It's running 3 Frogifies and is just trying to kind of handle more flyers lists. This level of kind of stats early, this version of Green Blue doesn't really handle well. So I set up some stats. I think he just kind of keeps pushing aggression. Yeah, he plays some stats. He plays Double Husk, clears my 3/7, and then he gave me an egg and a Rotting Boar, so nothing I can really do, and this octopus doesn't have any good stats that line up here. This Frogify isn't even good anymore. because it was one turn late on the 7/7, and now everything else has 4 health now. So I think I spent a lot of time thinking about this turn, trying to figure out if there's any way to salvage this game. I forget what I did here. I think I double trade into the Colossus. I set up a double collection to try and best kind of maybe extend the turn, because right now there's no actually face pressure being applied here, so maybe if I just keep collecting here, I can eventually play my cards that he's giving me, and maybe I'll be able to come back. But he ends up playing the training with the demon. Just to go face. And then plays a Spectre as well, which I am unable to get below, and I can't Frogify and clear this at my current status. I think there might have been a cleaner turn for this situation, but I think I kind of spent a lot of time thinking about clean ways to clear this demon, and I don't think I come up with anything clever. I think I Frogify the demon, but there's no way I'm coming back from this sort of situation at this point. I'm already at 10. He's going to hit me for 4 or 6 this turn, and I'm behind on board and economy, and my hand is Egg of Wonders, Rotting Boar, and Creation. The Tide Lord Creation combo is fine, but I was a little bit late, and this will be too slow. Ends up actually just value trading my double collector to really lock it in, and then gets another Colossus down. I think I can see here, yeah. So I do lose the first match. I think blue-green was one of my weaker performers in the tournament. I think I'm a little bit out of practice with blue-green, so I think I made the lands a little bit awkwardly. And I think I don't include Elderwood in my list, so I think I prioritized a few different things with my list. But moving on from that match, I'm down 1. I switched to the yellow control list because my other option was the mechs list, which I wasn't sure how it would handle a Colossus list that could potentially come out early. So I do manage to find one of my early creatures for this list. The yellow control list can really struggle to do anything early if it doesn't find Drake Rider or Fairy. So I managed to find one of those. He plays Demon here, which gets me all freaked out because he's playing Training and Flashwind. So otherwise, if this was anything but Demon, I think I would have just kind of played the Explore Desert here. So from here, I think I don't even explore here because I'm worried about the Training, Flashwind, Collect, Clear. But I think realistically, if that trade is happening, there's probably not recovering anyway. He doesn't end up having it. But this does set up now this line here, where I can go like this and corrupt here, and then trade this guy. I think I end up not doing that just because I'm worried about Soul Drain, because I don't have any follow-up. Looks like I just kind of set up the collection instead. I think Yakin has a slow turn. Just plays Training. Oh no! Also develops the Husk and the Merchant as well, giving me a few cards. From here, I think. So I have my Nightmare in hand. I see kind of a window to kind of sneak in a full clear. Since I don't have to actually corrupt before I clear this, I use 2 movements to get my Drake Rider to clear, and then also collect and corrupt here. This Nightmare might have been preemptive, but here I'm considering getting the Fairy down instead. But the concern was if he has like that Wind Soldier, then he can value trade on my 3/4. So at that point I kind of committed into the Nightmare line. From here, barters into, there's no choking in my list, so is unable to choke the 3-4. Does barter again. I think barters a few times just to get the Colossus discount down, as we can see on the side. Has double Soul Drain to clear the 3-4. I play a fairy and pass it over with just making a land here to make the 4th for the fairy. Yakin draws, and from here my hand is pretty heavy. 2 cards from the merchant that he gave me, plus my Steve. Spends a little bit of time deciding what kind of creature he wants to put down. Has looked into my deck to see kind of what spells are in there. Probably saw the Nightmare, saw the Soul Pact, saw the Soul Drains. Maybe mildly confident there's no joke in there, but still unsure. So plays the 4/6 to establish a board presence. From here I collect, and I try to decide whether I'm trying to play Steve in the next few turns, or if I'm just trying to throw out cards to keep a below husk activation. From here I ended up putting the 6/3 back down here to collect, to stay under husk, and I +1. The Tyrannox steps back, and a demon gets played between the wells. I play the Voice of Hunger to kind of get below husk activation again. I threaten this hit here. This is kind of just a setup turn. I forget what math I was doing on how close I am to affording Steve. There might have been some Soul Pact math as well, because if I can get this to go off, then I can have some Soul Pact to fund the 10 cost. And I wanted, since this doesn't just straight up die to this, I figured this can maybe threaten the husk, force a movement trick out of him here, and kind of soften up his creatures so that it's easier to remove with my Soul Drain hand, and maybe this 1/1. Ended up playing another demon, so I just hit him in the face because I figured maybe I can burn him out, because I have I'm staying below husk activation if he's hitting himself for 4 every turn, and I have this relatively safe defense 6/3 going on. And also this husk is blocking his demons from being able to trade off, so I might be able to sneak in a creature here to attack. And then I'm starting to do the math on kind of stepping up here and doing things with this 10/10. I think I got a little bit excited by this line idea. I kind of hit first before considering maybe stepping up with a 6/3, then double landing, then Fanatic to clear afterwards. So I don't want to use the Fanatic yet, so I end up just doing that. I don't know what I did. Oh, I guess I made these lands this turn. Never mind. Okay. And I didn't want to step these up just in case of training. I didn't want him to be able to trade off training without using a Flash Wind, because I did force him to use a Flash Wind last turn, so I didn't want to have to step into training range here. I softened this up just because I figured it was better than clearing this, just because these might be... because one option to kind of make sure that these are more relevant and are forced to be removed is if these go face. So if I soften up this one, then they're both easy to remove if they ever get training and come to my face. Does find a merchant here to activate the husk. From here I go up to 11 with double collect. So I don't think I use a Fanatic yet. Give me Tosser and Carrier. I forget which card he has. We might see it this turn. Okay, so there's the training that I was talking about. And it does find the Flash one as well. And took Monstrosity for himself and was able to trade it off like this. So he goes up to 12. I do find a Soul Pact, which makes things a little bit easier for me. Because I was considering a few different math things, because depending on how I want to do the math, I still can't quite get below Husk range. But then I realized that the demon was still going on. So this kind of puts a lot of weight on him not having Nightmare, which I realize now, based on some later games that I play like this, where I play the Steve out and they just kind of Nightmare it, and then I'm kind of stuck. Does not end up having the Nightmare, and I end up winning this game. So in the follow-up game, I still have the yellow control, and as you can see, he's got the 2.7 and 30 deserts, 2.7, 30 deserts. So this was the kind of the Husk control, or mid-range, with like Colossus and stuff, and this ended up being a rush. So they looked exactly the same, but one is a lot more aggressive than the other. Fortunately for me, I was able to find a double fairy opening, which made it so that I could be a lot more aggressive than he was. So I was able to play double fairies, and then since the deck is like 80% events, it was pretty likely that they flip here. And then from here, I think I decided to go even more aggressive with this fairy, go face, and also establish an aggressive phonetic. I think it's just decides to be a block on his land. Although then as soon as I play it, on his turn, he just explores in deserts instead. So I could have just put it here instead, and that way, or here. Basically because there was an option to kind of try to make it as difficult as possible to clear my stuff while also making an aggressive desert. Plays a Wingate here to play something defensively, so it didn't end up really mattering all this tricky land stuff I was worrying about. But the Spirit Theft in my hand, I'm feeling pretty excited about any of the Yellow Rush stuff. So the Monk gets played, and this Theft is destined for greatness here. Goes face, and I believe ends up just clearing one of the creatures back here. Uses a Wind Soldier here. From here, the Spirit Theft comes in pretty handy. I think I check what's inside. I do the math on if I can check a Barter's thing beforehand, because I wanted to see maybe if I could pull a prayer or something, but I think I was just like one short of being able to theft Monk and then hit him in the face if I didn't collect with this. So I ended up, I think, just going face here and clearing the Wingate as well. And I step over and make the land on the other side. I hit, I draw Nightmare, I clear the Wingate, and then it's his turn. So I set it up on this side so that way I don't have to make a land, and I can just hit for 9 next turn. And sometimes, I mean, usually it's not lethal, but I think I'm in a pretty dominant position because I'm at 19 still against Yellow Rush. The Wind Soldier here gets to collect and clear my guy. There's a follower. This Theft means it's 2 damage. If I want, I draw with the Monk first. I think I just Theft Fairy here. And I do make another land for whatever reason. I probably could have drawn instead, but at this point I think no matter what ended up happening. Can clear the 3/2 to not die, because that's only 5 damage. And from there, plays a Salmon. Nightmares the 2/1. But as it turns out, needed to Nightmare the 3/2 in order to not be dead this turn, because of the the follower I had thefted the turn before. So for the final game, he brought the last yellow deck, which was, I believe, a more expensive than the other two, so it was up to like 3. Here I found Drake Rider and Fairy. I went for the Drake Rider to kind of prevent being soul drained. Gives me a land to corrupt on, but I already had the one at his face, so maybe it didn't matter that much, but I was able to just kind of collect a few times and make sure my guys was 5/6, so at this point I'm not too worried if this gets soul drained, because it costs him a card, and it means it's a soul drain that's not kind of being used to clean up this guy. So he does end up clearing this with a double Wind Soldier, but is short of a soul drain to clear my Fairy. From here, I don't have a great setup to deal with this Manta Rider. And then also leave myself with a board. Like, I can full clear if I wanted to. If I could have gone Nightmare, Flash Wind to clear his guy, full clear his board, and then develop my own Fairy. But that leaves me kind of empty in my hand. So I decided to kind of hold back here, because if I start trying to go a face here, then I can kind of ignore this Manta Rider potentially for a while. Because ideally, the best case for me with Manta Rider is that I trade in the 4/2 into the front half, and then maybe I soul drain the second half, or something else to that extent. Finds one soul drain, but I believe not the second. So my Fairy's still alive. I play another Fairy, I draw. It doesn't flip. I think I apparently don't Fanatic anything. I just Fanatic to move to the center, and we just chill. He plays another Manta Rider, which I was not excited about because I was already having troubles dealing with the first one. But with these Nightmares in hand, I can kind of take a big turn once he kind of commits to anything, like a Windborn Champion is the main idea. And I thought I could take this relatively safely because I still had one more deck left in case I lost this match. So I do find a soul drain, so I can clear out one of the Manta Riders. I think I end up going for the left one because it's double collecting. Although I might have made lands this turn. No, I ended up going for a draw. So I think at this point actually I don't even go to clear one of these guys, because I would rather soul drain Theft and get my own Manta, and then potentially go face with this 4/2, clear out this 5/3 at his face, let him kind of commit between the wells, and start some pressure at his face. From here, he plays a Mistral Guide and a Demon, which I am perfectly okay with this face line idea. The Manta Rider steps in, and from here, the Radiance comes in pretty clutch, just because all of these things going on make it very awkward. I do a lot of thinking about this turn, trying to figure out the best way to clear this Manta. I think the end result is I Soul Drain Theft, clear the 4/2 in, and then play Steve here. I think that's the end result of that turn. I've ended up playing on this side actually, so I don't even play the Theft. I ended up just playing, I hold on to the Fairy actually, and I just hit him and then play this out of range at all. Okay. So that was the first match that I had for the Seasonal Cup, and I moved on to then fight Bamser.